What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
You don't know what that order is, Mr. Trash. I'd show you, but I'm too old. I'm too tired. I'm too fucking blind. If I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
I've never seen someone do it.
Well, it's a growing trend because people like me are facing violence, assaults, the left. Yes, the campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats.
Okay, so what's your goal in all this?
There's more people that agree with me than some people would actually believe, and they come out of the woodwork when I do stuff like this. We record all of it so that we put it on the internet so people can see these ideas collide. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
The truth shall always set you free. This is Tim. Let's get off my lawn. The mad ramblings of a Gen Xer. Somber day after yesterday's events, and that is going to be September 10th, the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and for basically just doing what he did best, which was engage in conversation with the youth, to have a thought, to have free speech, to have the ability to articulate an opinion instead of just yelling obscenities or relying on violence like parts of the liberal left really basically just does all the time. That is the quintessential argument of the left. You have a succinct point, you have a rationale, you have a reasoning that they cannot tolerate or deal with because it is based in fact, and their first response is fuck you and then violence. There is something very wrong with, and I'm not going to paint with a broad brush, but there is something very wrong with a large portion of the left because of the fact that they literally have no clue. They have no idea how to articulate a point, or even to how to have a point, or to have an argument, or to have an opinion. Their opinions are based in emotion. And a lot of times being based in emotion is you don't see the impact of the youth who are so impressionable. And that's why with Turning Point USA, that Charlie started when he was 18, he went on these college campuses and he provoked thought. And I know that's something you're not supposed to do in college, is have a thought, especially in the liberal left mind. You're not supposed to have a thought, because having a thought is dangerous. Having your own mind is dangerous. Not being part of the collective, not being part of the Borg is dangerous. Free speech is dangerous. It needs to, in their mind, it needs to be silenced. And that is the scary part of what happened to Charlie. He was silenced for having free speech. He was silenced for having an opinion. He was silenced because he wanted to start a conversation. You take a look at the tent that he's always under. It says, "Prove me wrong." He never sat there and shied away from answering a question. He never sat there and said, "No, I am not going to talk to you." He told you, if you had a difference of opinion, come up to the mic, tell me what your difference of opinion is, and prove me wrong. And that's what the left can't tolerate. I should say a segment of the left cannot tolerate. They cannot tolerate the thought that somebody is out there trying to reach people and trying to have people understand, listen, I am not the bad guy. I am not the enemy. I am here to provoke a conversation, not violence. There are so many people on the left that are certain pundits that knew Charlie, that understood what he was trying to do. If you take a look at the interview he did with Bill Maher, it was almost like the fact that Bill Maher was, because on a show, I guess he drinks and smokes pot. I've never seen the Bill Maher show. I've just seen clips, and he's telling Charlie, you're a devout Christian. So do you mind if and you don't smoke and don't drink? And he goes, do you mind if I do? He goes, I don't care. He goes, that's, you do what you want to do. I'm not here to stop you from doing what you want to do. I am just here to tell you, maybe your career would be better. Maybe things would have gone differently. Maybe you would even be more successful if you didn't smoke all the time, if you didn't drink. It was an open and honest conversation. But that's something we're not allowed to have. We're not allowed to have an open and honest conversation because of the fact that if you do, you are a threat to segments of the left. There is so much disgust and vileness out there right now that I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to say. That these people are cheering the death of a husband, of a father, of a son. Like his life meant less because of the fact that he was a conservative. And I love it because you go on CNN, you go on MSNBC. The first thing they talk about is he was a right-wing conservative. No, he's a conservative. There's nothing right-wing about him. He is a conservative. He'll tell you he's a conservative. And his whole organization was founded back during the Tea Party era. And it was one of those times that you sat there and you looked at what is going on, and he had a voice. He dropped out of college because he wanted to have a voice. He wanted to project not his opinion, but the idea and the ideology of sitting down and having a political conversation. And these are the things that the left can't tolerate. They literally cannot tolerate these things.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. To everyone saying that it was such a senseless, violent act. I want you to remind yourself that it was God's plan. I mean, really, it was actually his fault because, he should have been wearing, a bulletproof neck brace or something. I cannot believe he walked out the house without it. I mean, really, you have to be aware of what you're wearing. And
of course, this woman is from East Carolina. You can tell she's very liberal. She has that red hair. She has the multiple earrings. She is the prototypical, stereotypical. Look it up in Webster's dictionary of crackpot liberal. She is the photo of that. But if something like this would happen to her family member, if something like this happened to someone that she knew, she would be crushed. We would have to feel sympathy. We would have to feel empathy. Well, fuck you. Because of the fact that you literally, this person literally took someone away at 31 years old who all they wanted to do was provoke, and I shouldn't even use the word provoke, but I should rephrase that to invoke conversation. Instead of having differences with political violence, sitting down and talking to one another, sitting down and having a conversation that allows everyone to give their point. And I love these roundtables you sometimes watch with the liberal left. And if they're going badly for them, they immediately just revert to cursing and everything is racism. When you can attack a conversation with facts, with data, with history, like Charlie did, that was a threat to them. And it's a scary thought that potentially that these nuts literally awoken a sleeping giant, because there is so much anger, there's so much hatred right now towards the left by certain conservative groups and certain people that are Republicans that, something you have a feeling that something may happen. I'm not saying it will, but I'm just saying you know what? Sometimes they say the expression over and over again. You don't go out into the woods and poke a bear with a stick, because bad things will happen. And I think conservatives, I think Republicans are finally seeing, listen, we can no longer sit here quietly and allow these things to happen and allow these morons to run amok, because that's what they're doing. They don't understand, and they can't comprehend the thought that someone has a different political opinion that they have. And they are right. There are 47 genders. You can be a dog. You could be like I said, you could be a furry. You can want to have socialism. Well, back in the day when you thought there was more than one gender, that's called a mental illness. Back in the day when you allowed someone to be a furry, they didn't allow it. They figured, this person's got something so mentally deficient in their brain that they think they're a dog. You take a look at what happened on that train in North Carolina. That poor woman escaped a war-torn Ukraine to get stabbed by a crazy man on a train who was arrested 14 separate times, and the mayor applauded the press for burying the story for weeks because it doesn't fit the narrative. It's a black man murdering a young white woman. That doesn't fit the narrative. If this was reversed, that this would be front page news. There would be riots. There's not going to be a George Floyd moment for this poor woman because the left doesn't care because of her skin color, because it doesn't fit their narrative. You could say anything you want about what happened to George Floyd. You can agree with it, you can disagree with it, but the officer involved was taught a technique by the police department, which he employed. The autopsy shows that George Floyd did not die from having a knee on his neck. He basically died partially because of a heart attack and a drug overdose. It had nothing to do with what was going on at that point in time. And no one wants to talk about the fact that what was George Floyd doing beforehand. And Charlie Kirk would point these things out. So when you're committing a crime, we're not allowed to detain you because of the color of your skin. That's what the left thinks. But if it happens to them, then all hell breaks loose. Then there's something broken with the system. The system is broken when we can't have a conversation. The system is broken when we can't sit down and discuss things reasonably and rationally. And that's what happens with segments of the left. They don't want to hear that. They just want to hear their opinion is the right opinion. No other opinion counts. And fuck you if you disagree with me because I'm going to resort to profanity and violence. It's amazing that this happened a day before 9/11. Because 9/11 was radical Islamist trying to silence free speech, trying to silence America. And we came together as a nation on that day. We came together a nation for years after that day. And we had an understanding that our way of life was under attack. I've never fully told the story, and I'm never going to fully tell the story, but I was at ground zero moments after the buildings collapsed. I was there working for 2 days because we were up on, we were, back then, I think now it's William and Pearl, but we were staying in an apartment around when this happened, and we felt the need to go and get involved. We felt the need that we should go and help and look for survivors, even though you could tell it was a futile task. But right now, we take a look at this society, and I take a look at the video on the train. Everyone is cowering. No one is looking about what happened. Even after the stabbing, people are looking away. People are looking at their phones. And this poor woman is dying on the train. She died 15 seconds later. She is dying on the train, and no one's there to help her. Nobody's there to comfort her till the end. And Charlie Kirk, it's the same way. There is video out there that a man shot of a person in dark colors, a hoodie, who was running out of the building where the shots were fired. And he even says, as he's filming the guy, there goes the guy. Why not get involved? Put down your phone and go after the person. You don't have to be a hero. You don't have to be a Daniel Penny. But you know what you need to do? Maybe we need to put down our phones and start helping people. And I know that's a crazy thought process, but we need to help people. You need to help people. You need to have a conversation. You need to be involved, and that's what Charlie Kirk did. And hopefully his work at Turning Point USA continues. I love when Lil was like, well, why was he on a random campus on a Wednesday? Because that's what he did. That's where he took his message to. That's where he went out and talked to the youth of America. That's where he invoked conversation, was on these campuses. This was his love. This was his brainchild. This was his life outside of his family. And it was taken away from him. It was taken away from us. It was taken away from his entire family. It was taken away from a nation. And you have these liberal fucking nut jobs who are celebrating this. It's beyond disgusting. And all we can do is pray for this nation. All we can do is pray for Charlie Kirk, pray for his family, pray for all of his loved ones, pray for his children who will never see their father again because of the fact that he was murdered for having a different opinion and trying to invoke the youth and trying to invoke people to come up and have a conversation and prove him wrong. Well, he's never going to be proven wrong again because the right can never let this go. This has to be a watershed moment. This has to be a rallying cry. That this country is broken on one side and needs to be fixed and needs to be healed. We've said it always, and this is for Charlie. The truth shall always set you free. This is Tim. Let's get off my lawn. The mad ramblings of a Gen Xer. And I'm out of here.